You always
That's,
want to have your, did you always want to have your own theater?
no, no. Actually, if you had asked me even, you know, I don't know, 25 years ago, if this was something that I thought I'd be doing, the answer is no. I thought I'd be potentially performing. The whole thing came to be when Roy and I met. We've been married 20, and we are both professional artists, and we're performing together. And the story goes that we did our thing, and we settled in Orlando after being in New York because the cost of New York, we married, and the cost was so high that many of our friends had settled in Orlando and said, there's so much work here. You've got theater and you've got the theme parks. And so we, by fax, by the way, because there were no computers back then, my friends were sending me apartment listings, 3-bedroom apartments for $600. You know, in New York, you're in a studio for $950 back in the 90s. So we were lured down here, and this was something Roy always wanted to do. He, you know, his history has been on Broadway. He's been in the industry since he was literally a child. He started working when he was 8. He always wanted to run a theater. And so just by default, I have a business degree, and I don't have a theater degree, but I found the theater and loved the theater and became a professional actor. And here we are. He wanted to do it, and I ended up doing it with him. And we've been doing it now for almost 19 years.
You do it very well.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Heather told us once when we had her at the University Club that she drew up a business plan for the theater on a cocktail napkin on the plane on the way here when they moved here.
Yep, we did. Well, it was actually not on the plane here when we moved here, but we had gone to a family reunion up in Chicago. And my cousin, who I'm still very close to, we had a kind of come to Jesus meeting, which was, where are we in our lives? Are we making a difference in the world? Are we going to continue to do these jobs? And Roy and I, you know, decided we need to do more. And so we sure did. Business plan on a cocktail napkin up in the plane to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Are we officially started? Like, are we where we want to? Is it 5?
Yep, it's past 5.
Okay. So how do your happy hours work?
Well, typically, Nikki would be asking you questions, or you would just tell us what you want to tell us.
Okay.
I looked at your season. This looks like a good season, but how is it going to work now with COVID?
Oh, well, there's a lot to that. All right. So first of all, you all know that we've been shut down since March. And so for the first few months, we were really optimistic that we'd be able to open next month and then next month and then next month. So we kept pushing back. And then in the summer, it became clear when Broadway said, we're not opening until January, that we would have to postpone and start everything in January. So we've started the virtual entertainment that those of you who weren't yet on the happy hour call, we've started doing virtual entertainment, and there are live events that we film and then we share them. They're not live streamed. So we've had Kevin Kelly do Sinatra in August, and Sean Kilgore was just last weekend doing Broadway. Laura Hodes is next month. She's fantastic, and she's doing like the female side of Broadway. And in December is Natalie Cordone doing a holiday cabaret. And Natalie's never done a holiday cabaret with us, so this will be really fun for her and for us. And in November, the most fabulous show, highly recommend you guys, please join us. Because we're associated with the union, they are very, very, very specific, and they're not allowing any union artists to perform right now for the indefinite future. They literally don't even have a time when they're going to say, sure, January, right? And I understand, of course, from a safety perspective, but that cripples most theaters that are professional in Florida. So that's why we didn't start doing virtual entertainment until August. But then Roy and I tried to figure out what can we do that is unique and still, you know, true to our mission. So we started going over archival footage from the last 18 years. And we always record the shows, but we are not allowed ever to share them with you. That is a boo-boo. They do not allow theaters to share the footage. But because of COVID, we got special permission to put together this retrospective. So it took us hundreds of hours to look at all this footage and find great clips. So we've got clips going back as far as 2005. The video technology is definitely not what it is now, but then coming all the way up into shows that you guys just saw this last year, like Beehive and Desperate Measures. So we've got incredible footage, up to 5-minute clips. Some are scenes and songs, dancing, the whole thing. And then Roy and I are talking we filmed that last week, where we've got narrative pieces throughout. So it's kind of the, you know, backstage view and all this fantastic footage from 18 years of our history. So that's going to be happening in November. And we're really excited about that event. And then coming next year with our series, so it's the same series. Those of you who are series subscribers, it's all the same fabulous shows. And instead of starting in July, we are now pushing it into January. So we've got the Rodgers and Hammerstein show in January, and that's the big one that everyone's questioning. How are we going to reopen, right? So the plan right now is we are having something called PermaSafe treated the whole theater. And this is a product that is approved by the CDC and basically sprayed on all surfaces, soft surfaces, hard surfaces, public areas, the theater, backstage, bathrooms, and it kills the virus up to a year on contact. So anything that gets touched will, you know, be taken care of. We're also putting in UV filters in our air conditioning system to help with the air, because that's another issue. And as of last week, we got approval to raise the stage. So we're actually going to raise the stage a little bit. Those of you, I think you've all been to the theater, but it's only 6 inches off the ground. And so there are other issues with it. People trip over it and things like that. We're not going to raise it really high. So those of you who sit in the front row, don't fret. It's not going to be, you know, where your neck is cricked because it's so high. But we're going to go up another foot, which will also help with the safety of keeping the artist farther away from the audience. We will stage things farther back. At this point, I don't see us using masks. Our cast are very small. We only have 5 people. I personally and Roy don't love the idea of singers performing in masks. Certainly, I may change that if we have to. But at this point also, the audience will be required to wear masks. We just are gonna, you know, unless something crazy happens, that's to keep you all safe and to keep the staff and the artists safe. So the biggest kicker is going to be keeping everybody safe, including our cast. If one goes down, we're in trouble. So we have all of those precautions in place. Of course, we'll do the social distancing, dots on the floor and that kind of thing, and hand sanitizer. We really can't social distance the theater. That is our biggest challenge, is we've only got 123 seats. And we sell out all the time. So are all of our people going to come? No, we already know. They're not going to come in January, February, and it may not come until summer. Many of them said, I'm buying the ticket, but I just don't know that I'll be comfortable coming. So I'm sure we won't be full. We'll probably be sitting closer to 60%, maybe even 50%. So we're trying to get permission from the royalty companies to film, like we've been filming the cabarets. And that way we've got something for everyone. So if you're not comfortable coming yet, we'll share it with you in the comfort of your own home and you won't miss out. If you are ready to come back out with a mask, then we're gonna have live performances and we're just gonna pray that we can sustain. You know, our series subscribers are about 1/3 of our house. So we already have those series subscriber pre-sales, which is not being touched. I also want you to know that. That's really important, that money is not being spent to keep the theater open right now. That's all in reserves for the actual production costs. But that being said, we still need to sit at, 75% full to be able to even cover the cost of the shows. Right now, we're living off of reserves and we're not producing shows. So we don't have that huge expense that would close us, frankly. You know, you just can't produce a musical that costs $50,000 with no income coming in. So we're, you know, we're hanging in, all is good. And we're so excited to get back together and have some fun together. I'm curious to know how many of you are venturing out. Have any of you gone to restaurants in masks yet or any of that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Of course.
I have not yet been to a restaurant. Do you feel comfortable?
Really?
Yeah? If they're doing their thing, you're feeling safe being outside and all that?
The restaurants that I've gone to have been
Yeah.
very good, and that you've been very separate from different people. I went to P.F. Chang's, and I went to, I think, Mitchell's. And
Okay.
both of them were very good. I mean, there really wasn't any problem. They were very clean. And and then I went to Red Lobster. Red Lobster, even if you asked for salt and pepper, they put them in the little condiments thing so that you just sprinkle the salt and pepper and they throw it away. But everything I've seen has been very separate and very, very fine. I haven't had any problems.
Okay.
And Park Avenue is okay also. They do the same thing.
Okay.
There's a lot of restaurants that have outdoor seating. So Roberta and I went to Dubstred a couple of nights ago for the magic mystery, whatever, dining.
Magical.
Yeah, and sitting outside on the porch, you know, we felt perfectly safe. I wouldn't want to go inside, but it was nice outside.
Right. Well, that's something a lot of theaters are trying to, you know, get around, is trying to figure out how to do performances outside. And, you know, I mean, it's something we're talking about. It's, you know, even if we went over to Mead Gardens, which is probably our first choice, only because they have it retrofitted for live performances. Central Park, unfortunately, doesn't at all. It's just a concrete platform. I hope someday, I've been talking to them for 15 years about figuring out a way to get that stage where we can use it, like Texas and, you know, Theater Under the Stars. They've been doing that for years, you know, out in the Central Park area. But even if we did, you know, those concrete benches are not comfortable. And I'm not sure how people would feel.
What about people bringing their own chairs to Central Park?
Well, yeah. I mean, Central Park would be fine. It's just they don't have any lights or sound or anything. And if you
good
do
sound
things,
is expensive.
What?
yes.
Good sound is expensive. You can tell the difference in some of the performances that take place there.
Yes.
Is Lake Eola out of the question?
Lake Eola, I mean, we're Winter Park, so
Yeah.
it's not out of the question. We're trying to stay in Winter Park for our Winter Park family. You know, no, it's not out of the question. Shakes is going down there. They're going to be doing a couple of outdoor shows, Orlando Shakes. So I think everybody's just trying to figure it out, but we haven't reopened, and some people have said, why not? You know, it's fine. Your safety is paramount to us reopening, and we just can't afford to reopen with 20 people in the house. So we've got to wait for a time where we feel like more people are comfortable coming out, and if you're wearing a mask and we are not social distance, but we're doing all these other safety precautions, hopefully we'll get a good percentage of the people coming back in February.
You mentioned singing. Well, my grandchildren are in Boca Raton, you know, Palm Beach County Public Schools, and they are not allowed to sing.
Right.
That saddens me. They're learning sign language, so maybe something good will come of that. But they
Sure.
are not allowed to sing for the safety that when you sing that you spray stuff into the air more than if you speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
They have said that, and there was just a study, because we keep up on this all the time, of course, because singing is what we do. And in Oxford, it just came out that they are debunking that singing and talking, you know, if you're doing anything at volume, it's not that much different. So I don't know.
Singing isn't that much different. So you think that singing is not that much different from speaking?
Oh, I don't know. I'm saying that another research study was done and they said that it wasn't that much different than speaking with volume. I mean, if you're whispering, sure, but if you're talking at a normal volume, they're saying it's the same as singing. So, I mean, we have to sing, guys. That's what we do.
No, what I mean is the transmission of infections and viruses. Is that more so in singing than it is in talking?
I can't answer that, Melissa, because I'm not a doctor, but there is a study that just came out from Oxford in England that says it is not worse than talking.
Well, you know, you've got an ear, nose, throat doctor on your board. What does he say?
Yeah, we do. I haven't asked him.
You should ask him.
I will.
What?
I will.
Okay.
But also, you've got a sound system, so your singers don't have to really belt it out like they would if there were no sound system.
That's right. That's right. And again, remember, we're going to demolish the current stage and go up. And if the performers are back already 5 feet, and then the front row is another 4 feet, you guys, if you're in the front row, are 9 feet away. And if you're in a mask, I think we're going to be fine. But it's really all a matter of where we are then in public perception. We really can't stay closed longer than 9 months. I mean, I said 3 months, that's it. And then it was 6 months, and then it was 7 and 9. And, we're doing the best we can to stay alive. And so far, so good. We had to make a lot of cuts. We have had to lay off some people. We're on a skeleton crew. It's just the reality of what it is right now. Thank God everybody is safe. No one has gotten infected. We are not working at the theater. We only go in periodically, obviously, to check the mail and make sure the building hasn't burned down. And once in a while have a social distance masked meeting so that we can interact with one another. But everybody's good.
I wanted to ask you, Barbara, what do you want? I'll go ahead and finish and then you can have your turn, Barbara. When you were referring to Mead Gardens, it sounded like you were talking about the amphitheater that's been there a long time, right?
There are 2, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I wondered if you're aware that the Philharmonic is doing their chamber music concerts in the newer space.
I did not know that.
And
okay.
if you'd like to be my guest at the next one, I would be happy to make you and your husband, if you'd like to come, I can make arrangements for that. I can't tell you the date. It's not in the next 2 weeks. I can tell you that. But it would be an experience to see how that works.
Sure. Oh, that's so nice, Anne. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I did know there was an older space and a newer space. And from what I understand, I've been there, but I just can't remember. The newer space actually has lighting and is a very nice performance venue.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the gift that made that triggered the rest of the fundraising for that cover and the space was given, I heard, by grandparents of children in the Young People's Orchestra some years back. And so it was designed with the idea that there would be, and those young people's concerts are phenomenal. If you've seen the stars of Central Florida in high school. So I have not been to a concert there. And one would have to supply one's own chairs, I suppose, or perhaps the garden provides that as part of a rental fee. But I'm looking forward to them. I miss my live music, and they explored every possible place to perform outdoors.
Yeah. Did you go down to the soccer stadium?
I did. It was the most exciting night in 7 years. It seems like 7 years, 7 months.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful production. And I think for everybody, the most moving comment was from this amazing 24-year-old, amazing with the violin, who you could tell was almost near tears when she said what it meant to her, because she has performances scheduled. She had to cancel her performances around the world were canceled. Her schedule was full. And so this was the first time that she was able to perform with a whole orchestra and with a live audience. So it was very, very successful, I think.
That's
Everybody
amazing.
felt
I
great.
heard great reviews about it. The only thing I had heard was that this, it's concrete or metal or whatever those benches are, and it was uncomfortable. So I thought, oh Lord, people sitting for 2 hours for a main stage musical, I'm not sure that would work.
You know,
Unless they had
go as
stadium
much as
seats.
everybody wanted to go.
Yeah.
You can live with it.
Yeah,
It's better than watching your computer.
right. Agreed.
Heather,
Vicky.
I was just going to ask you about your outreach programs that you have.
Yes.
What are you doing about those now?
Yes, I want to know.
Yay, Melissa. For those of you who don't know, Melissa is a big supporter of our outreach. She loves it. Okay, so outreach over the summer, let's even go back farther. In March, when kids were still in school and all this stuff hit, we shifted quickly and we recorded lessons live that we could share with our outreach children in the underserved Title I elementary schools. So it was great because not only could we reach the kids that we normally do, but I broadened our outreach audience. So they got music lessons and dance classes and all these fun things and learned songs from Schoolhouse Rock, which is the show that we go out and perform. So that was very successful. And then the school year ended, summer happened, and there was really nothing we could do. People were just trying to figure out what was going on, and our partners, obviously the public school system was closed and the community center was closed. So we took a little hiatus trying to figure out what we were going to do. Now that we're back, school's back in virtually, we are back in the mode to contact the various music directors and drama teachers and principals to figure out how we can virtually get back in. They're not allowing any live programming yet in the schools. So I think for the next several months, we'll have to do things where we're filming or we're Zooming with the kids, but we're going to keep doing that. And then for our seniors, we're sharing our cabarets. So a lot of them, just recently, visitors have been approved to start coming back into the long-term care facilities and that kind of thing. So they've been alone in rooms, a lot of our friends, and some of our facilities have the ability to do closed circuit television. So we were able to send them our links, and then they got to watch it from the comfort of their rooms. And now as things are shifting, some of them are able to watch it as a community in one of their regular community rooms. So the outreach still lives. We just don't have the money to go crazy. It has to be something that we can do for a little cost. And we don't ask our teachers to work for free. We don't ask our artists to work for free. Everybody gets paid. So we're doing what we can, but it's limited at the moment, and we hope that in the spring we can pick up a little more regularly. I think virtual is going to be around for a while. I think that, we've got to keep people engaged, and it's not great, but it's better than not having any art. So
What
yeah.
about your festival, Florida Festival of New Musicals? What are you doing?
That's on schedule. That's coming in
Really?
June. Yeah, that's in June. I mean, worst case
Yeah.
scenario, they're even saying that a vaccine will likely be available in spring before June. And, again, we already postponed that once. We're feeling confident that June will be okay. And again, we can likely film the festival shows and share them with people who aren't yet ready to come out. So
Tell everybody how you get where you get your new musicals and how that all works.
okay. So the festival is in its 4th year. This 2021 would have been its 5th, but of course we had to postpone the 4th into 2021. And we started the festival, we've been talking about it for years and years and years, as a musical theater, and a musical theater that specializes in non-Broadway musicals. We pepper in an occasional Broadway musical, but we need small scale shows. And our audiences have always been so happy to see shows that they otherwise wouldn't see, most of them from off-Broadway or regional premieres, things like that. And we realized that there are a lot of writers who have works that never see the light of day. We were getting regular communication from writers around the world saying, hey, I have this musical, you want to produce it? And we realized, okay, well, there's definitely a lot that needs to be shown, but they're generally not ready for a main stage production where we're charging full price. And so as more and more of these came around, we thought, all right, well, it's going to cost us a bunch of money, that we're just going to have to do it and try it and see what the response is. So we open up submissions almost an entire year before we do, a year before we actually do the festival. And we've got all kinds of resources up in New York and England, licensing companies, professional theaters, producers, and we send this out saying, okay, submissions are open, tell your friends. We send it to Yale and Harvard drama schools for students who are in the creative writing programs. And the first year we had, I don't know, like 8 submissions, which for your first year is pretty typical. You know, nobody's heard of you, they don't know. The second year we had 16. The third year we had 32. Now it's grown to over 50. So word's getting around. We've got an international reputation. These submissions come in. There's about a 60-day window where they can submit, and they don't need a whole lot to submit. They have to fill out an application. They've got to give us a couple of scenes and songs to see what's the premise of this show. Are the songs any good? And then we have a panel of about 9 or 10 professionals. We've got professors, we've got directors, we've got musical directors, and they read the scripts, they evaluate those scores, what we get. So we've got rounds, and we have 3 different rounds where the cuts are made. So we start with, say, 50 musicals, and then the next cut goes down to 30 musicals, and then we get down to 16, and then down to the final, and we choose 6 musicals. I have nothing to do with that. I've got enough work to do. So we've got I'm unrelated to those at all. And when we get down to the final 6, these are musicals that the panel feels like are solid artistic choices, not necessarily right for the Playhouse. That's something I have to be really clear about, because we've had some language, we've had some controversial content, some political content that was very upsetting to some people, but it wasn't about that. And that's really important, is we didn't start the festival to just find a bunch of shows for us. We started the festival to find musicals, to give writers a platform and find musicals that could potentially get onto Broadway. So some of the musicals have 28 cast members, and the most we have is like 8 or 10. So they definitely aren't something we would produce. But it's so exciting, and the writers love the Playhouse. They love the process. They love the loving creative environment to let them do their thing. They love you guys. They say that bar none of all the theaters that they present around the country when they're doing these readings and such, the audiences are not nearly as welcoming. They just have nothing but wonderful things to say, which has really elevated the Playhouse's reputation worldwide. We've had a writing team from Australia fly in. We've got regular people from obviously New York, but around the States, we've got people from England, Canada, and they fly in and they get to explore Winter Park, and we don't pay them. They don't have to pay us, and we don't pay them. The bonus for them is they get to have professional artists that we pay. We pay them to learn their music, read the scripts, and then share it in a reading format. And, it's a cool thing. So definitely plan on coming. It goes over 4 days, and we do 18 performances, 1-hour reading performances over the 4-day period. It's kind of a musical fringe festival. Start at usually 10 a.m. in the morning, and we end at 8 p.m. each day, Thursday through Sunday. So it's a lot of fun and great works. Many of the works have gone on to some significant success, and many of them are still in the development process. So when they leave us, they hear your feedback and they hear our artistic team's feedback, and they make a lot of changes, and then they submit, and some have been produced. Some are doing pre-Broadway stuff. So it's exciting. We're happy to be a part of that whole thing.
You know, back to the outreach programs.
Yes.
Since you're doing it virtually, would you consider, or have you considered doing in other counties?
Yes.
You know, what?
Yes, we currently offer during the school year Osceola, Lake, Seminole,
Right.
and
And
Orange.
that's live theater. But what I'm saying is that since you're doing it virtually, could you expand without too much trouble, you know, send it out to all the counties in Florida. If kids can't sing and they're always wearing masks, they need even more music and theater, even if they see it on a screen.
Yeah, you're right. We could. I mean,
So
we could,
what would it take?
we could
Just
reach out
money
to
or what?
Palm Beach County. Well, we have to find out who, we need contacts at the various, you know, we get, because we live here, we get Orange County, Seminole, Lake, and Osceola quickly. We can get those lists of
Right.
principals, vice principals, music teachers, that kind of thing. To do more than that, you know, I mean, Melissa, Megan is our outreach director, and she's one of the people that I've had to put on part-time. So that's the other consideration, is to do those things, she needs to work more. So we're trying to balance what we can afford to offer, because those programs are free. We don't charge anyone. So that's all coming out of a budget that we currently, you know, are running skeleton. But I think that's a great idea.
But people are welcome to put, you know, like the last time you had a virtual performance, you know, you have the different categories. You can always say, well, I want to send some money to outreach, right?
Yes,
So people,
yes,
so people are welcome to do that.
yes. Pretty much everything we're doing right now is on a donation basis. And for my ticket holders in the room, we've had some questions about that, because normally we're a ticketed based nonprofit, but we always also need donations. And because things are so tight, we decided not to do tickets, because we have to pay a percentage of that ticket to the ticketing company. And we need to hang on to our dollars. So instead we shifted to a donation based program. It's been working really well. The bonus is that we only charge $20, but if you want to pay more and donate more, you can. And consistently, a good percentage are. You know, if it's a $20, ooh, that sun, look at, hang on a second. I'm sitting in front of a window and the sun is setting in my face. Okay, that's better. So, you know, if you want to, and you're right, Melissa, then people can donate more for outreach and that kind of thing.
Now, in a contact in an outside county, like as I say, my grandchildren are in Palm Beach County, who do you contact to say, I know this wonderful organization called Winter Park Playhouse, and they're willing to do virtual shows to kids?
Principal. Go to their principal or their associate principal. All the different schools, they're all different. But because
Right.
you're a grandparent there, and if any of you have grandchildren somewhere and you'd like us to reach out, the easiest way for us is to find out 3 contacts. And that way, if the principal's too busy, then you can reach out to the, sometimes it's, like I said, if there's an art teacher, even if it's visual art, just someone that will actually answer the phone or respond to an email, because principals are buried right now. They're trying to open safely and keep their staff and their children safe. So they may not be the right ones, but we usually try 3 different people.
What about PTA president?
Sometimes, yeah. If it's a school that has a good, healthy PTA, that's a good way. So any of you, if you have children at a school and you want us to reach out, we're happy to do it. We just need some contact information. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions other than what's been said for Heather?
Ann does.
Other than what? I didn't hear what she said.
I know Ann does. And Barbara, can you unmute them? Diane?
Well,
Oh,
I'm
they're
unmuted.
unmuted.
That Shift Command A or something, and that unmuted me.
Did you have a question, Ann?
I do have a question. Over the last couple of years, I've attended assorted city meetings and discussions and things about the Orange Avenue overlay. And I found in that process that you have I mean, I already knew, but your fans were very vocal in wanting a new home for you at Progress Point. And I'm wondering what you can tell us about that. And that's probably enough of a question. I'm just curious about your hopes for the future once you survive this wonderful pandemic.
Thank you, Anne. That is a loaded question and a really good one. Well, we've been at our current location now for the entire time. We have gone through various transitions of having the space on one side and then the other, and then all of it, which is what we currently have. So currently the theater lives in about 10,000 square feet, and many of you know, and many of you may not know, that we do not own the current space. We have been renting from private owners, and as a matter of fact, in September, the rent just went up to $12,400 a month. So even during the pandemic, we have been paying outrageous amounts of money in rent and utilities and insurance, but it's the cost of doing business. And do we love it? No, we don't. And we've tried to buy the building numerous times over the last 10 years. Really seriously over the last 5. We went and got a commercial appraisal done, and we got a loan, a mortgage to buy the building, and our landlords are not interested to sell at the appraisal cost. They want double appraisal, and it's obviously an ethical thing that we would not do. A, we couldn't afford it, and B, we're not going to afford it because it's your money and the community's money that's helping this nonprofit survive, and that would be really irresponsible. So to put that into dollars, it was appraised a few years ago for 1.7 million. And remember, we have no parking, right? So everybody has to fight for parking, which in a lot of cities with cultural institutions, that's the norm. So that's not that weird. But they wanted $3 million. Okay, so we said no. If you would reconsider, please come back to us, but that's not happening. Then Progress Point. This has been an eyesore of Winter Park for years and years and years. You all know that. I lived here when it used to be the place where you paid your electric bill.
And I'm not going to tell people where it is because I'm not sure everybody here lives in Winter Park.
Okay.
I don't.
And some are new.
Okay, so when you're going, if you left the theater and you turned south-ish, it's southwest, and went down to hit 1792, it's midway between Fairbanks Avenue and 1792 where the 5 or 4 streets come together. It's a intersection.
Minnesota.
Right, it's where Minnesota, Denning, and Orange Avenue all intersect. And there's this cool little brick area, and there's a clock there. And then there's this blighted area with nothing. It's a big empty, well, it had a building, but they've knocked down the building. So it's this big empty lot right before you get to where Ravenous Pig used to be, if you ever ate at Ravenous Pig. And there's now a little brewery down there and a distillery. So it's this wonderful piece of property that is, I always consider Orange Avenue kind of the gateway into Winter Park. You come off of 1792 and it's now coming up in the world. For years, it was a lot of tile stores and interior design stores and things like that. So that's where Progress Point is. It's a perfect location. It's been sitting empty for years and years. We have pitched the city on numerous occasions that we'd like to talk seriously about just having a corner of Progress Point and, doing a capital campaign. We would raise money, get some grant money, and build a theater. Not a big fancy Dr. Phillips, just something similar to what we have, but it would be something that the nonprofit would then operate and not be worried every 2 years about renewing a lease that the landlords are actively trying to sell, because they are trying to sell the building. They've been trying to sell it, and if someone like the Holler family picks it up for the $3 million or more, the theater will be homeless, right? So we're looking at the board of directors who've been trying to do this. So when the Orange Avenue overlay came to be, we've been very actively involved in that conversation. Like, this is perfect. You guys, you want to do something wonderful with that space, you know, please make a park. We'd love to be a part of that, and then let the theater have a little corner to put up a building. So we went round and round. I'm sure those of you who live in Winter Park have gotten all the various views of what that should be. At one point, very recently, before the election, it was going to be a massive building. I got to go to the actual architect's office that was chosen by the city, if this were to have been approved, to see the drawings. The upside was the architect and the builder were going to put the Playhouse in this thing, but it was not the character of Winter Park. It was enormous. And I'm not saying that from a political standpoint. It was a very large building. It was kind of like the Maitland buildings, the big 5, 7-story. It was very large. So as you know, many of you know, it was turned down. It was voted down. The people, residents were torn. Some wanted it, some didn't want it. We stayed out of the fray. We just said, look, we're not weighing in on one side or the other, but the nonprofit needs a home. So it would be a great space for us. So after the election happened, that was all withdrawn, all of those plans for the big building. And where we are right now is there is a beautiful drawing out that has a lot of green space. I think stormwater drains are a big concern on Orange Ave, so there'd be a little pond. And then a couple of buildings. I've seen 2 drawings. One has 3 buildings and one has 2 small 7,000 square feet buildings, and no 2 stories as it stands right now. So basically, I've been in talks with commissioners. We've talked with Steve Goldman. Many of you may know Steve. He's a philanthropist. His parents were very involved with Orlando Shakes. There's the Goldman Theater, to talk about, you know, where we would fit in. And then COVID happened. So to answer your question, Anne, we are actively involved, or were prior to March, trying to figure out what that would look like. To be completely honest, Steve's take on the whole thing was, whoever goes into the park, into Progress Point, if anything ends up happening, which at this point, I don't know, they want those people to activate the park. Those are the words, activate the park, meaning they want action in that park 24/7. So there was concern that the Playhouse only performs at night, to which I said, no, we have matinees most days of the week. And if that's the deal breaker, we will partner and collaborate with Micheli Puppets, for example. And Micheli will use the Playhouse space and do puppet shows in the mornings. Like that. Please don't think that we're only doing shows at night, because I'm sorry, but most of you watching right now come during the day. So they were very misinformed about that. They thought we were only doing shows at night. His concern is that if we are given a portion of the property, can we raise the money to build the building with COVID happening? Is that possible? I don't know the answer to that. We could get a mortgage, you know, and so if it's not crazy expensive. And the other consideration is, people like to give money for buildings. They like to name buildings. They love to get involved in that. And then you're left with the maintenance bills. So his concern was, look, I've been through this with the Philharmonic and the Plaza over at Bumby, which they no longer own because it was so much to rebuild, maintain, etc. And he's been involved with other nonprofits that build a building, and it's all great. And then the donors drop off because nobody wants to help pay to operate the space. So we're taking it all in. We're open for anything. We just don't want the nonprofit to die because the landlords sell the building and we're left out in the cold. So anything that you guys have, if you have ideas, please email me. We're just kind of taking the ride and listening to what's happening and participating in the conversations the best we can. What I do know at this point is the city isn't going to give us anything. They might give us some land, rent, you know, for that $1 a year kind of setup, but they're not going to pay for a building.
What about the ones on 1792? Didn't you have your eye on some properties on 1792? What became of that?
We did, last fall at this time, we were actively pursuing a purchase, a possible purchase over on 1792. When the architects and engineers went into this building, and it really does have grand potential. I don't think they've sold it yet. We would have to do, it was going to cost over $1.5 million to do the renovation. So the whole total was going to be $3.6 million.
Wow.
And that's a lot of money, you know. And I went back to the board and said, guys, I think we could do this, but I can't do it by myself. And, you know, if you're actively going to go out and help with this project, but it's going to be a close to full-time job for a year. And so let's be honest about this. I don't want to jump in and be like, yay, okay, here we go. Because I'm also running the company. So I fundraise and I grant write, but I can't just grant write and fundraise for a building when we have art that we need to produce. And it was kind of a realistic, honest moment that we thought, all right, at this point, we're not ready to raise that kind of money. That's a lot of money. And the Enzion was about to go into a capital campaign. And there were a couple of others that were about to go into a capital campaign. The Holocaust Center is in a capital campaign. So there's only so much money to go around. We thought it was best to just jump off at that point, Melissa.
But didn't the Enzion, didn't they suspend some of their campaigning activities? Or, I mean, it didn't all go all the way through.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did because COVID happened.
No, I thought it was before that. There was something that went wrong and it just didn't fly.
Yes, that's true. The city of Maitland. Yeah, the city of Maitland didn't approve what they wanted to do, so they had to stop.
Do a much more scaled down adaptation and
right,
not as big as they originally planned.
Right.
Specific planning for that is going to wait until we return to a real world.
Right. Right.
And you had said that your current property is 10,000 square feet?
Yes.
And that these new properties are 7,000 square feet. What does that do to you, even if you got it? That's a lot of square footage that you've lost.
That's right. So originally the plans were to fit in a 10,000 square foot for us. And so with the new drawings, I don't know that, I think we could operate there, but it gives zero room for growth. And that's not good. Part of our 10,000 square feet, though, remember, is space that you guys have never seen. We've got a costume shop, which is small, but it's storage, really, more than anything. It's storage. It's not really even a sewing room. We've got a technical shop with saws and things to build sets, and we have a rehearsal hall. So,
but you're a theater. You need that.
Right. We need that. Because the idea of buying the current building would be to expand the seating, make the stage deeper so we can dance more, you know, the things that we need to do. We would, by expanding where we are, we would lose some of that backstage space, and then you have to go out and find some. I've been in talks with Rollins, assuming that we stay where we are, and they're willing to share some costume storage, which would be grand. I would be fine with literally moving all of our costumes to Rollins and letting the students use whatever they want, with the understanding that then we also can draw from storage when we need to. And I think that we may get to that point. Again, COVID happened in the midst of that. So they closed down and now they're just reopening over the last month. And we've started talking about that. It's an interesting world. I mean, I just keep saying it's like we're in the upside down world. If any of you have watched Stranger Things, it's like, you know, you're watching this weird thing happening going, is that the real world? Are we in a different reality? What's happening? But we try to keep laughing and stay optimistic and, you know, literally can't wait to see faces face to face, whether we're masked up or not, and share in that wonderful, joyful energy that is live theater. You know, we're not going anywhere at this point.
With this upside down world.
Yeah.
I sing with Bach. And I know that when we try to record, everybody in the orchestra gets paid considerably more because they get extra money for recording. Now, you said you've been allowed by the union to use some of your recordings, but that are they going to continue to do that? Is that just a COVID thing or?
You know, we had to pay, even for this retrospective, we had to pay each union member, even if they only say 2 words. If they're seen in a scene or a song, even if they're just standing there, we had to pay them, and we have to pay their pension. Now, it's not a ton of money, but when you have 50 performers, it's costing us $5,400 to do On With the Show, which is the November event. So it's costing us over $5,000. So I don't know that they're going to allow it anymore, to be honest. I really don't know. We looked at the option of sharing or live streaming a professional production, and it was so cost prohibitive that we wouldn't have made our money. You know, these wonderful events we're doing are really just to stay connected with you guys and to pay the artist and give them some income. They're not even remotely close to paying for our rent. So it's not profitable, but it's necessary. We have to stay alive and stay engaged with you guys and make sure that our patronage knows that we're not the theater that closed. Breakthrough Theater around the corner did close their physical location, and many people after they closed thought it was us. So we're getting like bombarded with emails going, oh no, you closed. And we're like, no, we didn't, it wasn't us. It was Breakthrough. So you are doing the entertainment because that's what we do, and that's our mission, is to do it, but it is not enough, you know. So when the spring comes in January, we will very probably have a non-union cast of professionals. You know, we've got Kevin Kelly is non-union and he's phenomenal. So we'll have a non-union cast, which will allow us a little more flexibility from a taping and sharing standpoint than if we had union members. And that's probably what we're going to have to do for the first show, definitely. And then the next ones we'll just have to figure out closer to January. I think if I had to predict, we won't be able to hire union performers for at least 4 months in 2021, and maybe not until summer. It's hard for them because they're all out of work, you know, and Disney, most of them also work at Disney, and it's challenging. I wrote a reference letter today for one of our actors who's going to get a job at Haverty's Furniture. To make ends meet. She's like, I can't live off of unemployment, so will you please write me a letter of reference? I'm going to go try to sell furniture. I said, you'd be great at it. It's lucrative. You can make some money, and, you know, good for you doing something out of the box to try to pay your bills, because you got to do something. You can't just sit around waiting for the union.
You could go into advertising for them with an acting background.
What?
Maybe, you know, someone who sells furniture with an acting background, maybe they could do advertising.
Yeah, advertising for us?
No, I mean,
Haverty's, but that's really a different whole place. They don't, that's not
Yes.
of Haverty's.
Yes, that, Melissa, you're talking about doing commercials. And
Yeah.
yes, they would be great at doing commercials. The commercial industry has kind of also shut down for a little while.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I mean, Todd, you guys know Todd. Todd has worked in our box office for 10 years, and with no box office, there's no box office manager. So he was with us until June, and then unfortunately we had to lay Todd off, and a lot of people, including Melissa, were very upset about it. But we can't pay that payroll when there's nothing happening. And
I hope he comes back.
I hope so too. Fingers crossed. We love him.
What is he doing? Do you know?
He just got a job, and I don't know what it is, but I told Melissa I was going to check into that. He did get a job. He's fine. His partner is fine. They're, you know, healthy, and they're trucking along. They just got a new dog. So everybody's adjusting. It's not what we want, but we do what we have to do to, you know, keep the business alive so that when we can reopen, we're not closed.
Could Todd do could he do a cabaret, virtual cabaret?
Well, the virtual cabarets are full, but yes, he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be in the festival. And he will likely perform in something next year. So you'll see him. And when we can afford it, we'll definitely have him back in box office doing, weekend performances when we're alive and live, back doing live stuff. Barbara, you've been raising your hand.
Yeah, I was just wondering, were you able to apply for any of the government assistance back for when the CARES Act was first passed? And
Yeah.
then they're negotiating a new thing. Will that be able to help you a little bit?
100%. Yes. As soon as that was announced and the application process opened, thankfully, our wonderful relationship with Seacoast Bank that we've had for years, I immediately called before it even opened and said, put us in the queue. Send me the application as soon as you have it. That was a lifeline. That's the only reason we were able to keep our staff fully employed through June. And that money came in April, and the terms of that, they only let you, 8 weeks. You had 8 weeks. So we were able to keep everybody on staff through June 30th. But then once at that point, the board made the decision that we had to postpone opening until at that point it was October. And then a month later it was January. There was no way that we could keep full staff on. So I'm praying there's another lifeline, because that's how small businesses and the arts literally stayed alive for the amount of time they did from a payroll perspective.
Well,
That
so how
also
much
helped
money
with
did you
rent.
get from that?
We got $99,000.
Oh, wow.
So when you have rent that's $12,000, that allowed us to pay 2 months rent, and then it allowed us to pay payroll through June. So it was really, really, really impactful. We still haven't gotten a forgiveness application yet. The SBA keeps changing things, and right now they're thinking that with anyone who got under 150,000, we may not have to go through all the hoops. It may be a one-page simple forgiveness. We're confident we're going to have it forgiven. Everyone has said that. Our accountants, the attorneys, the bank, they're like, yeah, no problem. It'll be forgiven. The question is when. So everyone's kind of just waiting to get that application in and submitted, and then we see if there's another round or not. I'm not holding my breath. I mean, half of the people want it and half of the people don't. So that's a whole, political thing. I just would be grateful if it came out again.
Well, Heather, it's 6 o'clock.
It's 6 o'clock. It was so good seeing you. It was so good seeing all your faces. I miss you.
Thank you so much.
I'm hugging you.
I miss the theater.
Oh, we miss you too. Thank you. And if you're not a series subscriber, series tickets are on sale. And like I said, it's likely we'll have live performances and shared virtual performances. So if you want to support the Playhouse, buy a series ticket. We'd love, love, love to have you. It's going to be a grand season.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank